Good morning.
We are learning Mishna Nedarim, Perek Yud Aleph. Perek Yud Aleph, chapter 11, Mishnah Beis, Mishnah 2. All right, so the previous Mishnah mentioned that according to Rabbi Yossi, the examples that we had before of where, let's say, the woman makes a neder that if I bathe today, then I cannot bathe forevermore. That's her neder. So, according to Rabbi Yossi, the fact that she can go one day without bathing isn't considered in a nefesh. It's considered personal suffering that would allow the husband or the father to cancel this neder, this kind of neder. Which means that according to Rabbi Yossi, you need what we call a significant in a nefesh, significant suffering, either at the scale or over time. And therefore, he's going to tell us, according to him, what he says are considered nidrei inu nefesh, nedarim of personal suffering. Ve'eluheim nidrei inu nefesh. These are the nedarim of personal suffering. And again, this is Rabbi Yossi continuing to speak from the previous Mishnah. Amram kainam peras ha'olam alai. The woman makes a neder that she says, kanam, a carbon, or as a carbon, the fruits of the world on me. She's basically forbidding all the fruits in the world. Hareza yachal hafer. That he for sure has the power to cancel. That is clearly considered in a nefesh, such a scale of going ahead and forbidding all the fruits of the world or the produce of the world. That's clearly considered in a nefesh according to Rabbi Yossi, and he can cancel it. However, peres medina alai. Let's say she says the peres, the produce of this country, are going to be forbidden to me. Yavi la medina cheres. So says Rabbi Yossi, that's not called personal suffering. You know why? Because if we don't bring from this country, we bring it from a different country. Now, that is a very interesting point because of the fact that as they bring down here, although there may be times when he cannot get her produce from a different country, this is only a minor discomfort. Meaning the situation here is that, apparently, it's not impossible or very improbable to get fruits from other places. You could get fruits from other places. She says, I'm not going to have, just an example, I'm not going to go ahead and have fruits from Eretz Yisrael. All right, so you go across the border and you get from Lebanon, from Jordan, in those days, it's maybe not be such a big deal. The point is, though, that again, it's not like he's always going to be able to do it. It's clearly not the most convenient thing, and therefore it's not going to be always able to do it. But nonetheless, this, according to Rabbi Yossi, is, as I described it, it's called a minor discomfort, and therefore he would not be able to cancel it. I would assume that in a situation where she says, I forbid the fruits of this country on me, and for him to get fruits from other places is really very, very difficult, that would be a different story. That would be called nidrei inu nefesh, personal suffering, and he could cancel it. Another example, peres chenvedi zeh alai. She says, the fruits from this storekeeper I forbid on me. She forbids all the produce that this storekeeper gets her. No, so what do you do? So in yachal hafer. Says Rabbi Yossi, you can't cancel that. You know why? Go to a different store. She doesn't like this store. Go to a different store. Not such a big deal. Clearly not convenient. Clearly can make some difficulties, but not enough to be considered the scale of inu nefesh of personal suffering. The Rabbi Yossi would say allows the husband or the father to cancel. Now, the imloi haisa panasasai elamimenu. If, let's say, this person's parnasa, meaning this person's ability to get food, was only from that storekeeper. He can only get his food from that storekeeper. The one that she said that she forbade on herself the fruits of that storekeeper, that's the only storekeeper he can really get fruits from. Why is that? So the way it's explained is that this is a fella who buys on credit. And the only storekeeper who's going to give him on credit is this, and the only store that'll give him on credit is this storekeeper. You'll say, well, he won't give you on credit, get some cash and go to a different store. The answer is, we're talking about a person that if he has to typically buy, if his parnas, if his ability to get food is from the store that gives him on credit, that means he doesn't have access to cash. And therefore, the only way he really has a way to get food for her is from the storekeeper, because he's the only one giving him on credit. And that's really the only place for him to get food for her. And in that situation, that same neder where she says, I forbid the fruits of this storekeeper on me, that he said you wouldn't be able to cancel because go to a different store. If he actually can't go to a different store, then it is considered a neder of personal suffering, and she would be able to cancel the neder. So as the Mishnah says, Divrei Rabbi Yossi, these are the words, I don't know if I read the last part. But if his livelihood, meaning his way to get food, was only from that storekeeper, as we explained, Harei Yafer, then he's able to cancel it. Divrei Rabbi Yossi, these are the words of Rabbi Yossi. So sum it up, according to Rabbi Yossi says that the Inui Nefesh, the personal suffering we're talking about, that he can cancel, the father of the husband, has to be one of a major suffering, a large-scale suffering. That's Rabbi Yossi's opinion. But the Bartanura points out that Allah is not like Rabbi Yossi. Allah is like the previous Mishnah, that it doesn't have to be a major suffering to be considered able to cancel it. Even if it's a minor suffering, he'd be able to cancel it. And therefore, in all these cases, he would be able to cancel this, the Nedarim mentioned here. It's interesting, as we mentioned before, and the Bartanura says it, there are two types of Nedarim that a father or husband can cancel. Nidre inu nefesh, Nedarim of personal suffering, or Devar mishabeinoy lebeina, things that affect him and her. And there were differences between the two of them. At the end of the day, the question is that these cases, some of these cases where Rabbi Yossi says you can cancel and the Tanna Kama says you could cancel, what category they fall under? Do they fall under personal suffering? Do they fall under things between him and her? And as we said, the difference between these two Nedarim is that if we're talking about Inu Nefesh personal suffering, then the ability to cancel is it's across the board. She said, I'm not gonna, for instance, she says, I'm not gonna marry, I'm not gonna cohabit with anyone. So that is something that clearly is something that affects between him and her, and that he's able to cancel, but only between him and her. If let's say they divorce, or he dies, let's say he dies, and now it's not relevant to him, the neder stands regarding the other people. So there are differences between the two of them. But at the end of the day, all the examples that are mentioned here in this Mishnah and the previous Mishnah would all be things that according to halacha, according to the Tanna Kama, according to the halacha, the husband or the father would be able to cancel. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.